In a quiet fishing village in the Philippines, a young boy named Miguel lived with his widowed mother. Their home was a tiny wooden hut with a leaking roof, standing on the edge of the sea. Life was not easy, every day was a struggle to put food on the table. While other children his age played with toys and attended school, Miguel spent his afternoons singing on the streets, hoping to earn a few coins from passers-by. Despite his worn-out slippers and patched-up clothes, Miguel carried something priceless, his voice. Sweet, powerful, and filled with emotion, his singing often stopped people in their tracks. His favorite spot was a small plaza near the market, where he would stand with a borrowed guitar, pouring his heart into every note. Some smiled and dropped coins into his tin can, others simply listened in awe before moving on with heavy hearts. Music was more than survival for Miguel, it was his way of keeping his father's memory alive. His father, who had once played guitar at local fiestas, had taught him the basics before passing away. Since then, every song Miguel sang was not only for money, but also a tribute to the man he missed dearly. One humid afternoon, as Miguel sang a soulful ballad, a tourist stopped to record him on a phone. Unaware of the boy's daily struggles, the tourist later uploaded the video to social media. Within days, the clip began spreading rapidly. Comments poured in from people around the world who were touched by the boy's raw talent and heartbreaking sincerity. Miguel didn't know it yet, but the voice that once echoed only through village streets was about to travel across oceans, and change his life forever. Miguel could hardly believe what was happening. The video of him singing in the market had now been viewed by millions. Strangers from around the world left comments calling him an angel, a miracle voice, and a star waiting to be discovered. For the first time in his life, Miguel felt like his voice was being heard far beyond the borders of his small fishing village. One morning, as his mother returned from washing clothes by the river, she found Miguel staring wide-eyed at a letter delivered by a local courier. It was an official invitation from America's Got Talent, signed and sealed. The producers had seen his viral video and wanted him to audition live in Los Angeles. Miguel's hands trembled as he held the letter. Could this be real? The dream he whispered about every night before bed was suddenly within reach. But reality quickly set in. How could a poor boy with barely enough money for food ever make it to America? Miguel's mother knew the weight of his dream and the limits of their life. With tears in her eyes, she made the ultimate sacrifice. She sold her late husband's most treasured possession, his old guitar. The money wasn't much, but it was enough to cover Miguel's travel papers and help him prepare for the biggest journey of his life. The night before his departure, Miguel stood outside their hut, staring at the stars. "Papa," he whispered, "I will sing for you. I will sing for Mama. I will sing for everyone who believes in me." His mother hugged him tightly, her heart swelling with both fear and pride. With nothing but his voice and his faith, Miguel boarded a plane the next morning, the first time he had ever left the Philippines. The bright lights of Los Angeles were overwhelming for Miguel. Everything felt larger than life, the skyscrapers, the busy streets, and especially the grand stage of America's Got Talent. Backstage, he clutched his small backpack and whispered silent prayers. It was his first time outside the Philippines, and now he was about to stand before thousands in the theater, millions more watching at home, and 4 world-famous judges. When his name was called, Miguel walked onto the stage, his steps small and hesitant. His clothes were simple, a plain shirt and worn shoes, but his eyes shone with both fear and determination. Simon Cowell leaned forward, asking gently, "What's your name, and why are you here today?" Miguel introduced himself softly, his accent noticeable. He explained that he came from a poor village and that music was not just his passion, but his way of surviving. His honesty drew silence in the room, even the audience leaned in closer. Then came the moment. The music began, and Miguel opened his mouth to sing. His voice, raw yet angelic, carried through the auditorium like a wave. The first note alone was enough to make people gasp. Judges' expressions softened, and some audience members wiped tears before the song even reached its chorus. Miguel poured every bit of his struggle, hope, and love into the performance. By the final high note, the crowd could no longer contain themselves. They leapt to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Miguel stood frozen, breathing heavily, his eyes wet with tears. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, thousands of strangers clapping, cheering, and shouting his name. For the first time, he felt seen, heard, and truly valued. The judges exchanged glances. Something extraordinary had just happened on that stage. The theater roared with applause, but Miguel stood trembling in the middle of the stage, hardly able to process what had just happened. For a moment, it felt like a dream, people standing, cheering, chanting his name. Tears streamed down his face as he looked toward the judges, waiting for their response. Simon Cowell leaned into his microphone first, his voice unusually soft. Miguel. I've been judging this show for many years, but that, he paused, taking a deep breath, was one of the most powerful performances I've ever heard. Your voice doesn't just sing, it tells a story. The crowd erupted again. Sofia Vergara wiped her eyes and added, you touched all of us. I can feel your heart in every word you sang. Howie Mandel nodded, calling him a miracle voice. Then came the moment no one expected. Heidi Klum leaned forward, her eyes shimmering with emotion. Miguel, you deserve the world to hear you. And for that, she suddenly slammed her hand down on the golden buzzer. The theater exploded. Gold confetti rained down from the ceiling, showering Miguel in a sparkling storm of light. He dropped to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably, covering his face with his small hands. Backstage, his mother cried out in disbelief, rushing onto the stage to embrace her son. Together, they stood in the middle of the golden rain, clinging to each other as the audience cheered louder than ever. The judges rose to their feet, clapping along with the crowd. Simon smiled, shaking his head. This is why we do this show, he said softly. Miguel, the poor boy who once sang in the streets for coins, had just secured his place in the live shows. With the world now watching, the night of Miguel's golden buzzer performance changed everything. Overnight, his name became a global headline, Poor Filipino Boy Brings AGT Audience to Tears. Clips of his audition spread across television, news websites, and social media, reaching millions who had never heard of him before. Strangers around the world wrote messages of encouragement, sending love and support. Some even called him the voice of hope. Back home in his small village, neighbors gathered around tiny televisions and phones, cheering and crying as they watched their very own Miguel stand on the biggest stage in the world. For them, he wasn't just a boy anymore, he was a symbol of what was possible, even for those with nothing. As Miguel prepared for the live shows, he was invited to interviews and talk shows. Producers marveled at how humble he remained despite his growing fame. When asked what he wanted to do with success, Miguel's answer was simple, I just want to take care of my mama, and help children like me who dream of singing. His sincerity melted hearts everywhere. But nothing compared to the moment he returned to the AGT stage weeks later, standing taller, more confident, and greeted with thunderous applause before even singing a note. He wasn't just the poor boy from the streets anymore, he was an artist, a rising star whose voice could move nations. Even Simon Cowell admitted, Miguel, you are proof that talent and heart can come from anywhere in the world. Though Miguel's journey was only beginning, one thing was clear, he had already won something far greater than a trophy. He had won the world's love, and proved that no dream is too big, no beginning too small, when you dare to believe.